Yo, what's checking, everybody? Welcome to a Tuesday edition of House Divided right here on Orange Bloods Live. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That is Chad Hastings. We're going to be with you, I don't know, for however long we go today. Sometimes it's a little more than an hour. Sometimes it's, well, yesterday, much to Chad's chagrin, it went the full 2 hours. Like, comment, subscribe to the page, get notifications, and by all means, jump in to the Specs chat. Chat away. We love your super chats. We will take your money if you're willing to spend it. And this show is brought to you by the guys over at Texas Card House. Beat State. What's going on?
Well, you know, Texas is playing Mississippi State. I mean, this is the normal thing that would have happened. I was not obviously with the YouTube side of things in the Big 12 days. This is what happened, right? When the Texas was about to play Kansas State or Baylor or Iowa State, a lot of beat whoever it was during that week.
I mean, yeah, yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although I always feel like Kansas State was KSU.
That's true. Yeah, this is just like a beat state. So there you go.
I think she's feeling herself inside this SEC world that she lives in. Let that woman feel herself.
No, that's exactly what I'm doing. That's why I threw it up there. And it is just that extra little ingredient because Texas fans have been looking forward to this conference because this conference's middle to bottom is way more interesting than everybody else's middle to bottom. And that's why it's like there's a little more flavoring to it. Somebody else chatted us real quick. What did it say? Somebody was chatting. It felt like a bowl. Going to feel like a bowl game every week. I don't know if I'd go that far, but, you know.
Let's not overcook the grits. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is
Darwin's happy.
fun.
Right? Glad to be playing Mississippi State instead of a Big 12 school.
Trust me, this is not a bowl game.
Hey, you know what? Hey, Catch, how dare you? Because they now have like 57 bowl games, and a Mississippi State team has been in one of those recently. So come on. He didn't say a great bowl game. He just said a bowl game.
No.
It could be a bowl game with a mayonnaise mascot.
I'll be honest, I'm more interested in this game than I am a lot of bowl games, if we're being completely like we need to have a serious conversation of what we're saying with regards to bowl games.
Yeah.
Look, we'll get back to Texas, Mississippi State in a little bit. And yes, Jeff Lebby knew. I will say it all week long. He will never get a pass from me. He will always be one of the cretins that was involved in what happened in Waco. He's gotten a complete pass. To Art Briles' weird credit, he kind of was the only man that went down for an entire program that was a cesspool. And Jeff Lebby absolutely has avoided responsibility. And so, yeah, I will never – the North remembers Jeff Lebby knew. I'm sorry, I got distracted by my own hatred of Jeff Lebby.
You know what? That's okay. Sometimes the social justice warrior in you comes out and starts swinging his spear. So there's nothing wrong with that. We will certainly allow that. We'll also allow for a little playoff talk today as Orange Blood's own Travis Gailey has his playoff projection out that people are talking about. We'll get to that. But Catch, we are starting off with a piece of recruiting news that will make Longhorn fans ultra mega capital letter happy.
Yeah, I woke up this morning and Rivals does a real good job of sending me links. Everybody, I get links every day to all the stories that Rivals produces. And Adam Gorney had an article out today. It was his predictions on all of the uncommitted top guys in the Rivals 250. And I thought, well, Jayvon Hilson is definitely in that. For those that just need to be reminded, 5-star defensive end out of Cocoa, Florida, 6'5", 230, number one edge player in the country. Formerly committed to Florida State, formerly committed to Alabama. So I was like, I wonder, there's a big Texas vibe there, but I wonder what will he predict Texas? I was curious. So I go to the Jayvon Hilson section. And first of all, he does predict Texas. Like, first thing I noticed, okay, He's picking Texas. You know what? The number one defensive end edge player in America out of the state of Florida going to Texas. That will be a big deal if it happens. But weirdly, the prediction wasn't the thing that caught my attention the most.
Okay.
Let me read you what he wrote. After commitments to Alabama and most recently Florida State, Hilson is back on the market and resetting his recruitment. Texas was the runner-up last time, and the Longhorns are definitely a major contender. But watch out for Hilson's visit to Central Florida this weekend when the Knights host Colorado.
Oh, my God. Buy your party supplies, Texas fans. Get ready to buy your Jayvon Hilson jerseys and jerseys and stickers and whatever it's going to be.
His high school teammate, Jayvon Boggs, is already committed to Central Florida, and so that could play a big factor.
Okay.
And then it says Texas, Florida, Georgia, and others will be in the mix as well.
Wow. And this is a guy that at one point, I don't know, Jason Sukamel in his discussions of it has talked about, I believe it was Hilson told Jason at one point, Texas or Florida. And that was, Texas or Florida State. I'm sorry.
Right.
And then that was before, or that was while he was committed to Florida State. And remember, he had an official visit to Texas in June. And at that point, it was kind of those two. And now you're telling me, what was that other big school you just mentioned? Did you put Georgia in there as a?
The throwaway line at the end is Texas A&M. And there's some talk that Hilson could visit A&M for the Texas game.
Oh, I didn't hear you say A&M. Okay, so go back over those last couple again.
Texas A&M, Florida, Georgia, and others will be in the mix too.
Gotcha. Okay. This is one of those guys, Catch, that I've been saying if Texas can really put something together crazy good in recruiting, I don't know. I feel more and more like he's going to be a part of it. He visited with Myron Charles to Texas, and Myron Charles has flipped already to Texas. And then Hilson, was it the same day or like days later, is backed off of a commitment, didn't truly flip at that moment. That's why we were talking about what do you call it when they slow flip or, whatever it is. But I don't know. It just feels like it could make sense for Hilson in Texas. It sounds like that's where Gorney's headed. That's where Gorney's mind is too.
Well, so much of Hilson's recruitment has been on his profile says that he should stay in state. He's been committed to Florida State. He took an official visit to Florida. He's taking an official visit to Central Florida. So, and then he visited Texas. So if you didn't know that he really liked Texas, you would just think, well, this kid's going to stay in state. But he's off the Florida State train. And that made a ton of sense until I think he realized, oh my God, Florida State is a bit of a dumpster fire. I'm not doing that. Florida is a bit of a dumpster fire right now. There's very little job security in the staff that's currently recruiting him there. Miami doesn't seem to be completely in the factor. So you've got Central Florida here. I think there was some thought that Miami, it's not listed in Gorney's article, but I think there was some thought, well, maybe it would make sense that he might start to show an interest in Miami. Mm-hmm. They look like a team that can be in the playoff mix all season long. It is in the state of Florida, but this wild card Florida team is Central Florida at this point instead of Miami. And I'm sorry, I do not mean to be dismissive of the Knights at all. I am a former McCallum Knight. I like teams that are Knights. But Texas, in a number one ranked Texas, with the momentum that it currently has, if it's left to Texas and Central Florida, it's hard not to like Texas's chances there. Yeah. And quite frankly, now the clock is starting to run out. It's almost October.
Yeah.
If an A&M or a Georgia is really going to get involved in this recruitment, A, it better start to happen fast. And B, I think there's a lot of ground that they'd have to make up on Texas, a Texas team that's not appearing to be conceding territory at this point. They look like they're gaining instead of giving. And so is he a 5-star mortal lock? I think so, if it's going to be Texas or Central Florida. There's no way that kid committed to Alabama and Florida State and then says, you know what? Central Florida, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
That would be 10 times more shocking than Micah Hudson going to Texas Tech. Because at least with Micah Hudson, you go, well, he's a legacy. His old man went to Texas Tech. Until I start hearing, well, Jayvon Hilson's dad had his number retired by Central. Unless there's something like that I'm just not aware of.
Well,
it's a pretty dreamy situation, Chad.
2 ingredients here. The only thing I would tell Texas fans, Catch, I agree with you overall. Just 2 things to keep in mind. A, it's the state of Florida, and he's a Florida kid, so there might be some kind of staying close to home thing. Plus, as the Lee OB chats us, there is one NIL character to remember in this thing, and that's old Gus Malon. Not only running the ball, defense isn't there yet, but a dark horse in the Big 12. The Lee, you are
not a dark horse in the Big 12.
You may be correct about that. Catch, I've seen them as the predicted winner of the Big 12 and the playoff representative.
Where have you seen that?
But forget that. Forget that. It's a projection by a group that meets in my backyard, but that's a whole nother story. But forget about that part. Gus Malon does have some DNA in him that speaks to aggressive recruiting, effective recruiting, and now that NIL is a possibility, the man is right. I mean, we're talking about Orlando, Florida. It's not like there's not money in his area. It's not like they haven't built some stuff up at UCF. Catch, they're getting Big 12 money now that they weren't getting before.
Why are you doing this, Chad?
I'm just mentioning it. I'm just mentioning it as a, don't forget, it is Gus Malon. It's like if you tell me some team, random team, might be looking at a kid and I start to walk away and you go, did I mention Hugh Freeze is the coach? I'm like, well, wait, hold on, stop. Okay, fair enough. Gus has a rep.
Have given Gus Malon more respect today than anybody outside of his family has given him in years.
Hey, blame it on the Lee. The Lee sent it in. The Lee sent in a chat. Actually, blame it on me because it wasn't a super chat and I put it up there. So that is on me. Lee, thank you for the chat. If y'all want to throw us a super chat, we will, and we will throw that up there. So we'll see. But I mean, your logic is sound to me, Catch. Why would he end up? It's not like there was something that happened during high school that's made everybody like bring his rating down, right? It's not like his ranking is dropping. It's not like he dropped a star ranking. You just reiterated he's the number 1 edge in the country. Why would the number 1 edge in the country go Alabama, Florida State, UCF?
It doesn't make any sense.
That would not make it. Would have to be a homegrown reason with a possible side of Gus Malon. That's the only thing I can come up with.
The good news for Texas is it doesn't just stop with Hilson. If we look at this same article that Gorney wrote, it's Hilson's such a big deal because edge players are worth their weight in gold. But ho-hum, there's also the Michael Terry projection. He's got him going to Texas, says Texas has absolutely pulled ahead. The 4-star is going to make a decision relatively soon. So those are 2 big ones for Texas. I think Michael Terry may be getting taken for granted that Texas is already recruiting on the offensive side of the ball really well. It's Texas and Nebraska, really. I think a lot of people feel like that's going to happen, but that doesn't mean it's any less significant or impactful. You add him and Hilson. The other one that I thought was really interesting, Chad, in this update that Adam Gorney did, Nathaniel Owusu Boateng is discussed.
I was going to ask.
I'll read you. There's nothing in this. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll read you the passage.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me what sticks out, okay?
Okay.
Quote, Florida, USC, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Michigan round out the top 5 for the 5-star linebacker, but this one feels much like an Irish Wolverines battle to the end. Owosu Boateng had a great visit to Michigan over the weekend to see the Wolverines beat USC, but his brother went to Notre Dame. He has the longest relationships there, and the connection is significant. Prediction, Notre Dame.
What stands out is not one mention of Texas.
Yes. I think it's really interesting that kid's coming in. Adam's not wrong.
Right.
It does look like a Notre Dame-Michigan battle.
But we are talking about a guy who has his official visit scheduled on the Georgia weekend.
Correct.
So
I think it's really naive to not have Texas in there because now ultimately Adams, I think smart money is Notre Dame. Second smart money is Michigan. But Texas is a wild card here in that we know they're getting a chance to swing the bat. They get 48 hours on the weekend of the Georgia game in a few weeks to change the scope of that recruitment. And I think, if I'm a Texas coach, all I know is smart money's on Notre Dame, but he hadn't committed there yet. Second amount of smart money is on Michigan, but he hadn't committed there yet either.
Right.
This is a kid that everybody across the country, I think, is making some really large assumptions with. And they may be right. His brother did go to Notre Dame. They probably will get him. But the longer a guy like Owosu Boateng waits, the more I think it's hard not to wonder, is he waiting for somebody to blow him away? And look, maybe Michigan did it this past weekend. That had to have been an amazing experience to be a part of. But to not have Texas, okay, don't put Texas in there at your own risk, Adam Gorney. I would just say that I think it's almost likely that he'll come out of that weekend against Georgia and he'll have great things to say about Texas. And Texas has like a puncher's chance. I think more so than these other schools. And again, one of the interesting things about Owosu Boateng, and I'll continue to say this because I think this is really important. If you look at his top 5 and don't include Texas, Florida, USC, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Michigan. Florida is the only SEC team in that mix. The assumption is that kid's going to stay in the Midwest, even though he goes to high school in Bradenton, Florida at IMG. But if we can say Florida's not really in play for a number of reasons, and that his visit to Texas gets them in the top 5, then that means that Texas is the only SEC school really in the mix. And I'm sorry, if you're a defensive player, the smart money, Owosu Boateng knows, he does, he has to know this, that there are more defensive prospects and players taken out of the SEC than any other conference. That it is the conference that from a high-level defensive player, top of the NFL draft kind of deal, nobody produces more than the SEC. So I have to believe in the back of that kid's mind, he at least every once in a while has to ask himself, shouldn't I play in the SEC? Brother at Notre Dame aside, isn't the best football played in the SEC? And if that's the case, does that mean I should go to Texas? I just think there's more meat on the bone there than Adam is suggesting. I'm going to be fascinated when he comes out of the Texas official visit weekend. If that kid says Texas is, I'm just curious what he says.
Catch, matter of clarification here for ZOV. Catch, we don't know who you're talking about unless you.
Woo!
Woo! Woo! Woo!
And the
Thanks.
funny thing is, you could go Ric Flair, woo, right? You could do
I'm a
the
Texas
woo,
fan. Yeah.
but something about a woo-soo just has me Eddie Murphy-ing woo.
Woo! Thank you, ZOV, for getting the clarification. I also like these chats. Chris says the Georgia weekend is going to be like an Ocean's 11 style heist for the Texas coaching staff. And Bink says Ocean's 11. Now Texas is going fast franchise and overtly stealing the whole save. It is building up to be a hell of a weekend. And Catch, to connect two names we've mentioned today, I'll keep connecting Hilson and Owusu Boateng in my head because those two positions, badass edge guy and best linebacker in the country, like those two things can work together. But I still keep thinking if one of them shows great interest in Texas and even commits, could it affect the other one? I keep wondering about I don't know if the guys even know each other. One's at IMG in Florida, the other's in Florida. But if I'd already been to Texas and I'm Hilson and Owusu Boateng shows up, is interested, and sort of shocks a lot of recruiting people and says, yeah, Texas is on my list now. Yeah, Texas is now a factor. If I'm Hilson, I think that maybe helps me to seriously think about Austin if I'm already, if I'm not doing it already.
Every little bit helps. Great players want to play with other great players. And I do think one of the things, Texas has such a much better roster than Notre Dame and Michigan. As good as Michigan looks, and look, it could be that the Michigan and Notre Dame connections are such that that's just where he's going to go. But if you look at Notre Dame and Michigan as programs right now, does he really think that Michigan isn't skipping a beat and that the Harbaugh thing doesn't matter? Maybe he digs the coach there so much that he would go to Michigan. And look, they produce a bunch of guys on the defensive side of the NFL. So that makes sense. And look, Notre Dame, his brother goes there. You've got Marcus Freeman. I think in the instance of both Michigan and Notre Dame at this point, you've got a black player looking at two schools coached by black head coaches. I think there will be some thought. I'm sure it crosses his mind all the time that, that's something to consider.
Yeah.
Can't be completely naive to ignore the fact that could be something that he would look into. Now, you have Steve Sarkisian, who's incredibly popular. So if anybody can crack down the fact that Freeman that Notre Dame and Michigan have the best relationships long-term, that they extend for years, and that Texas is way behind on the relationship time frame standpoint. Those schools have money in the bank in those relationships that Texas will have to overcome. But again, there's just something really strange about the fact that Owusu Boateng hasn't committed yet. Because he could have. There's a red flag that goes up for me a lot of times whenever, and you know what? This one kind of points to Michael Terry a little bit too. And I think there have been some Texas fans that have noticed this. It's like, why hasn't he committed to Texas yet? It feels like Texas has been a leader for a long time, but he hasn't pulled the string. And the longer that you wait on something like that, the more you can't help but wonder, is there something there that's causing the delay? When we look at the top 50 prospects in the state or in the country, top 50 guys in the country, Chad, only 4 of them are uncommitted right now.
Wow.
Excuse me, 5. You got a defensive tackle, Justice Terry, out of Georgia, who just decommitted. So you've got
from Georgia.
What's that?
From Georgia.
I believe that's right. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Hold on. Where was he? Yes, he was committed to Georgia, decommitted in March.
Okay.
looks like he committed to USC and then decommitted in June. So there's a lot of thought that he will eventually end up at Georgia. There's another defensive tackle, Elijah Griffin, out of Georgia, also expected to end up at Georgia when it's all said and done. So the thought is those two guys will end up at Georgia, but they're undecided. They're the number 7 and number 8 guys in the country back to back. Georgia gets those commitments. Surprise, they're going to be good up front on defense for a while. Then you've got Jayvon Hilson is next. He's the number 15 guy in the country. And then you've got Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng. If we're talking about top 25 guys, that's it. That's it. And with all 4 guys, there's an interesting story. It feels like, okay, well, the 2 defensive tackles in the state of Georgia feels like they're going to go to Georgia. You've got Jayvon Hilson, who was all set to go to Florida State, and only that program melting down has opened up his recruitment truly. And then you've got Owusu-Boateng, who on paper should be committed to Notre Dame. And if on paper not committed to Notre Dame, committed to Michigan. But that kid's still undecided. And in a world where everybody else around the country has announced their commitments, he's undecided, is taking his time, is still taking visits, is going to places like Texas, even though on paper they're not even in his top 5.
Yeah, I was going to say, could end up at a 1 versus 2 matchup. What is it at worst? A 1 versus 6 if Georgia loses this weekend? He could end up at he's going to end up at that game on his official visit weekend. That has to matter. The number 1 linebacker in America is going to go maybe watch the number 1 and 2 teams in the country play on a Saturday. And you're telling me everybody at Notre Dame and Michigan will be like, don't worry. It's okay.
We got that one locked down. Really?
Yeah. Don't know if you've heard, but his brother is here. Talked to him this morning at breakfast. We're good.
Well, okay. And you know what is really interesting, Chad? This comes – you want to blast for the past? I wonder if this has got a little Eric Winston recruitment written on it.
God.
I know.
Wait.
I know that's a dagger to the chest, but that kid wanted to go to Texas. And for those that don't remember, Eric Winston, former teammate of Cedric Benson, obviously longtime NFL player. It's so funny. He thought, I can remember talking to Eric Winston on the phone. He was so convinced, Chad, that he was going to be a tight end in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I can remember having an hour-long conversation with Eric Winston when he was in high school where we just argued over it. And I was like, you're going to be an offensive lineman? You need to know that? It's happening. He's like, no, I'm a tight end. Well, anyway, for those that forgot, his stepdad was a big A&M fan. And in that family, they wanted him to go to A&M. Mm-hmm. He wanted to go to Texas, but there was just no way that was going to happen. And this was the 2002 recruiting class. So this was the Vince Young number 1 recruiting class in the country. He ends up going to Miami because Miami was neither Texas or Texas A&M.
Right.
It was like, you know what? I don't want to go where stepdad wants me to go, but I can't get kicked out of the house and go to Texas. So I'll go to Miami.
Going somewhere totally different.
If you look at Owusu-Boateng's top list of schools, Michigan and Notre Dame, his brother, if that kid goes to Michigan after his brother went to Notre Dame, it's a kick in the teeth for Notre Dame.
That's a family issue right there. That's one they'll talk about at Thanksgiving if he goes and wears the Michigan hat.
How you think?
Dude, that you know what? That is well laid out, Catch. That's well laid out. If he's going to end up picking the Miami to Winston choice, that might be it. Just go somewhere totally different.
There's something going on where that kid isn't quite ready to say, I'm going to Notre Dame despite all of the advantages that Notre Dame has.
Yeah. And if you ask Mr. and Mrs. Owusu Boateng and uncles and aunts and stuff, hey, if he doesn't go to Notre Dame, could you live with Michigan or Texas? Man, they'd have their hook 'em horns up before you could get it out of your mouth.
That's all I'm saying is that if this kid's really having, if he's Julia Roberts in Runaway Bride, and it's like, come on, we're going to walk you to the aisle. We're going to get you to the church. Go on.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I don't want to get married to him.
I'm not doing it.
I'm telling you, there's just something there. There's a little red siren going off with Owusu Boateng's recruitment where I find myself from the outside looking in going, that's just peculiar. And I'm telling you right now, if there was a kid, if there was a kid at Texas whose brother had played at Texas and it seemed like that kid, if that kid wasn't committed to Texas yet, and maybe, you look at Yamozula as an example of that last year. He waited late to commit to Texas. So there was always a little bit of a thought that, well, maybe Texas isn't the place for him because that could have already happened if he wanted it to. And in the end, he ends up committing to Texas. But I don't think that recruitment is similar to this one. Just keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
I'm on the record. You guys know what I think.
There you go. House divided on this Tuesday. Up over 750 folks in that Specs chat. We do appreciate you. Let's take a breath here and hear from one of our great partners, and that is AV Consultations. All the screens, all the cool stuff. Check it out. And then we will have a discussion about maybe Oklahoma and the quarterback thing. Yeah, Venables made a choice. And then Venables.
Oh, we will, Chad. We will.
And Venables has said something else too. We'll get to that. Hang on.
Hi, this is Tom McKay with Audiovisual Consultations.
And Camilla McKay.
Kid, what time is it?
Old man, it's back to sports time. The hockey and football seasons are upon us.
And baseball is winding down to the best part.
And what about basketball season?
I'm 5'2". Who the hell cares about basketball?
Yeah, we're talking about watching, not playing. And in that case, you've got everyone covered, right?
That's right. Audiovisual Consultations has been providing awesome systems and service throughout Texas for over 30 years.
Installing home entertainment systems and livening up restaurants with incredible audio and video systems.
We're talking multi-screen video walls.
And home entertainment that puts you in the best seat in the stadium.
Just give us a call at 512-255-8678.
Hey, aren't you forgetting something?
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Hug your kids until they beg you to stop. Watch a game with your friends.
And make love to whoever the hell you want.
Just give us a call at 512-255-8678 or visit us at avconsultations.com. Go Stars!
Go Bruins!
Kid.
All right.
Stop. We have to go back to talk about that spot.
Yes.
There's so much going on in the spot.
Yeah, there's a lot happening. Shout out to the graphics department for putting that together.
I miss Go Stars, Go Bruins.
Oh yeah. The child ended up in college in the Boston area and got hooked on the Bruins, and her dad is a Stars fan. So that is one of the things they don't agree on.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't even notice that the first time around.
Yeah.
Because I'm focused on the fact that the daughter, how did we go from make love to your wife to his daughter saying make love to whom? I love it. I love it. It cracks me up.
Yeah.
It feels like a real direct response to me. Because I'm the one that has made such a big deal out of make love to your wife. So I love the fact that the family is like, you know what, Catch? You and your whole make love. We're taking it up a notch. Yeah. Everybody just make love to whomever they want.
See, there you go.
I want to be friends with them. They just sound like fun people.
I have not met Camilla yet, but Tom is an absolute hoot. You and Tom would have some interesting conversations.
He's a trip, man. That whole family's a trip.
It is. It's good stuff. Good stuff. Shout out to AV Consultations. All right, from AV to BV Catch, because Brent Venables has officially made his choice, at least for this week, when OU goes to Auburn. He's going with the kid. He's going to stick with Hawkins at quarterback. But then one of our chatters throws this in earlier. Tyler says, BV just stated that he wanted to clear up the DG talk, Dylan Gabriel. BV said, quote, no one ran DG out of OU. I thought he was off to the NFL, but instead he wanted to get closer to home. End quote. Wow. What are you thinking today, Catch, if you're Jackson Arnold?
Well, I'm thinking I got thrown under the bus. That to make the change, to quit on Jackson Arnold after a third of the season.
Yeah. In a fairly, I'm going back and rewatching that whole game. I admit I was watching other stuff. That game wasn't totally out of whack when they took him out, was it?
No.
Okay.
No, and I thought,
I get that he hadn't been good.
I would have gone back to Jackson Arnold. Those are the games. He's a redshirt freshman quarterback.
Yeah.
These are the games that he has to go through. Look. Quinn Ewers never had struggles quite like that. But Quinn had some rough moments in his first season as a starter at Texas. And there got to be a point later in the year, and this wasn't dumb football. You go back to the Baylor game in 2022, when I guess that was the week after Oklahoma State, and Sark just had Ewers throwing it all over the field, and it's not what they needed to do in that situation. The next week against Baylor, they run the ball for the entire fourth quarter. And it was like, well, they've got Bijan and Roshan, so it makes sense. And it's like, okay, but they went out of their way to not throw the ball, to just take that pressure off of. It's not easy, man. It is not always easy being a young quarterback. It's funny, I've been having a conversation about Cade Klubnik at Clemson right now. He's in the top 5 of QBR, in the top 12 in passing efficiency. He opens up with the Georgia game this year, and just that entire performance from Clemson was an abomination. But like a year ago, he went through some struggles. It was hard. First year starting quarterbacks go through struggles. It's hard. And they're making a switch from a redshirt freshman to a true freshman. And it feels like they've thrown Jackson Arnold under the bus.
Yeah, I like this thought from Mark. Yeah, gives Texas game film if you get to see Hawkins play.
No, Mark, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
But it does two things. To me, when I heard the announcement yesterday, and by the way, actually, Dylan Gabriel, don't let me not circle back to that, okay?
Okay.
But when I first heard the announcement, I thought he doesn't think they can win with Jackson Arnold against Texas. My first thought is they think they will lose that game if Jackson Arnold starts. So they're going to put Hawkins in there for the Auburn game this weekend, because you can't have him going in to Texas and that be his first start.
Right. You got to see if he can handle a whole game on his own and get you a road win, and then you'll feel better.
And I think it's a 50-50 game at Auburn this weekend, while acknowledging that Auburn is a deeply flawed team as well. I think they've thrown Jackson Arnold under the bus. I think this is a really tough situation to put Hawkins in. I think he's not a guy that's quite ready for this. I rated Hawkins higher than anybody in the industry. In fact, well, before this show is over, I'll pull up my rankings and prove I had Hawkins rated significantly higher than most of the industry. I like the kid. And I love he's got NFL bloodlines. I covered his dad way back in the day in the fall of 2001.
Who's his dad?
His dad is Michael Hawkins. He played at Oklahoma, was a DB for the Packers.
Okay.
What's really unique about that particular story is that his dad was homeless as a teenager, like had some real life struggles that he had to overcome in order to get where he eventually got to. And I once saw him play head to head with Robert Timmons when Robert Timmons was at Flower Mound Marcus. Two guys immensely talented who were both 5-star talents, but that had things they were dealing with that made, and Michael Hawkins ends up overcoming everything. And then Robert Timmons doesn't. So, and there, hardcore Texas football fans will remember that Robert Timmons was as one of the most talented receivers that Texas has ever recruited, and he just couldn't get out of his own way as a young guy. I mean, those things happen. I like Hawkins, and I think Hawkins can be one day a starting quarterback, but he's raw. He's not ready to play. He didn't look ready to play on Saturday, but it almost feels like, well, he's not Jackson Arnold, and that's why he's starting. And I think OU is in an incredibly precarious situation. And I think it is an incredibly young head coach. I think this is the move of an inexperienced head coach who's a defensive-minded coach, not to understand. You got to let Jackson Arnold grow up a little bit. You have to make almost a season-long investment in him that we're going to come out of the other side of the fire okay. But the first year fire sometimes sucks, man. Look, even the greatest quarterbacks that Texas has ever had. Think about a guy like Vince Young. Think about his first year of a starter in 2003. And it's weird how many times we reference Chance Mock and Vince Young in this show. But you think about that season, Vince wasn't really ready to be a starting quarterback. Their game plan for him against Oklahoma was just go run around like a chicken with your head cut off, and maybe Oklahoma won't be able to stop that. But he wasn't ready. And that was a redshirt Vince Young. Young quarterbacks need time. Vince Young needed time. Quinn Ewers needed time. Chris Sims needed time. Colt McCoy needed time. In Colt McCoy's third season, he committed 22 turnovers in 2007. 22! Think about that for a second. 22! And then the next year, he's legitimately probably should have won the Heisman. Had the best passing season in the history of Texas football. That Venables is unaware of the quarterback developmental thing that you have to survive is going to be it's going to be his downfall. It will be his downfall that what are you telling Jackson Arnold today? Because whatever you tell him in the locker room, unofficially, you just blamed him for whatever Saturday was. You benched him. It reminds me a little bit of Sarkisian benching Hudson Card against Arkansas. That night after 2021, and look, what do we know about what happened after that? Sark quit on Card. He was like, I got to find somebody else, not this dude. But in reality, Hudson Card, and look, the reality is it doesn't look like Hudson Card's ever going to be good enough. Based on what we're seeing even at Purdue, it doesn't look like he was the answer. But in real time, he quit on Hudson Card to play Casey Thompson, who wasn't the answer either. And if it's about choosing answers that aren't answers, when in doubt, always lean on the young guy that needs the time. I mean, at this point, Dillon Gabriel hasn't even made his first career start on the road. Like, there's still so many things that guy's got to do as a young player. And now we circle back to Dillon Gabriel because it's a very disingenuous conversation that Sooner fans want to have about Dillon Gabriel. They want to say, hey, can you put that chat back up? Do you know where it's at?
I'll try to find it. The one about Gabriel.
What they want to say is, well, we thought Dillon Gabriel was going to go pro, and then he decided he wanted to be closer to home. And like, what were we going to do? What Oklahoma fans leave out is when Gabriel decides that he's going to come back for another year, Oklahoma told Dillon Gabriel it's an open quarterback competition in the spring. You have to fight and win the job. And the way it was relayed back that like Jackson Arnold is the future of the program. We're not risking that. And you can come back, but there's no guaranteed that you're going to be the starter. If you're Dillon Gabriel and you're going into your last season in college and you can start almost anywhere in the country, you can't risk a quarterback challenge because if you lose the battle, you don't get drafted. You're just some guy that lost his job and then got stuck at the school. Speaking of Chance Mock, Chance loses the battle with Vince. He stays incredibly loyal, but then he doesn't get drafted. He doesn't really get an NFL opportunity that had he gone to a Delaware or somewhere like that. He plays, he's got an opportunity. If you're Dillon Gabriel, you can't risk the idea that with one COVID season to play, that you can not be a starter at Oklahoma, especially when the guy you're competing against is a 5-star who they think is the future of the program, and it would make sense that they invest in playing him. They ran Dillon Gabriel out of town. They told a guy who was their starting quarterback and was the reason why they beat Texas. Yeah, man, 50-50. It'll be even coming in, and you're going to have to win the job against this guy. And he was like, no, you know what? I'll go play for a better football program and a more proven head coach who just put an NFL quarterback, in the first round. I'll go play at Oregon. So what Oklahoma fans can't do, what I won't allow, is to say, he left and we had to play Jackson. That is not what happened. They made a choice, that coaching staff, to tell their 6th-year top 5 quarterback in the country that he would have to win the job in a even 50-50 competition that might not be decided until August. They ran that guy out of town. You ran that guy out of town. That'd be like if somebody was working at Orange Bloods and I was like, just so you know, like, I don't know if I'm going to pay you in the future. You're going to have to prove against an intern that, you deserve to be paid. And then that guy leaves for another job and it's like, he quit. What was I to do? What was I to do? He quit. I said, well, no, he quit, but you told him there was no guarantee that he was going to get paid in the future. So he took another job. He quit. What? Don't blame me. No, they put Gabriel in a position where he had no choice but to leave. And now Oklahoma fans want to cry foul. He wanted to go back home. What were we going to do? We were forced into this position. That is so disingenuous. However, coming from a state and from people who stole the land that they live on right now, although to be fair, we all stole a bunch of land in theory. We took the land. But there's Sooners for a reason. Can't be trusted.
Tyler, thank you for that chat. By the way, OU and Auburn is in the 2:30 window this weekend. If you're a Texas fan, 3 rivals on 2 different channels at the same time. 2:30 kick, OU at Auburn, 2:30 kick, Arkansas and A&M. You can go back and forth if you like. First time in a long time, Texas fans have been able to watch that game and know they're going to play both later on in the year. And obviously they're going to play OU.
Go ahead, Chad.
Catch some at OU say that Arnold threatened to hit the portal if he wasn't starting in 2024.
I mean, that's the rub. You have to play these 5. Dylan Gabriel knew the score, and so did the Oklahoma coaches. The one thing that couldn't happen at Oklahoma, Jackson, I guess the thing that was perceived that couldn't happen was that Jackson Arnold couldn't leave. You can't let that. Same thing about Arch. You get these guys in, and it's like, hey, man, whatever happens, happens, but he can't leave. And so we have to build everything around what has to happen to make sure he doesn't leave.
Yeah, Catch, it feels like almost sort of like the situation Sumlin had at A&M, where it ended up with these were 2 5-stars at the time. I don't know how you'd rank these 2 guys, but 2 guys where it got played wrong and they both left. Deep down, Venables knew, Oklahoma knew, you can't lose them both. You can't lose them both. You got to come out of this thing and have one of those guys for sure.
Well, and look, Chad, I'm not saying they made the wrong decision. I've never felt that way. I get it. All year long, I've understood why they did what they felt like they needed to do. However, you don't try to play us in September that this was like happenstance. This just kind of what happened. Dylan Gabriel wanted to go closer to home, and we just ended up with Jackson Arnold. Well, no, that's not what happened. OU's coaching staff decided our future is Jackson Arnold. Everything about this program, we are putting behind the idea that he's going to be the starter. And I completely sign off on that. It's what Sarkisian did with Quinn Ewers in 2022. Hey, man, he's our guy. He is our guy. And whatever bumps in the road are bumps in the road. Those are bumps in the road. We'll live with that. They went 8-5. They lost a bowl game. It was not a fun season other than the dump trucking of Oklahoma and the Cotton Bowl. The coaching malpractice here, Chad, is that they got themselves into this situation, which I think going into the season, they probably played the way they had to play. You quit on it in September. So what you can't do is after the Tennessee game, blow up your program plan. Because honestly, if you're Jackson Arnold today, you feel like you have been betrayed. You feel like the coaches who said that they would stand behind you have done the complete opposite. Everything that they said all the way through the offseason and into the early part of the season about their commitment to Jackson Arnold and who he was after a half against Tennessee as a redshirt freshman, you've quit.
Yeah. And now he's got to get on that plane. He's got to go to Auburn, and he's got to prepare for a moment where Hawkins might get hurt during a game. They might watch Hawkins play a bad quarter or so. And then how does he feel when Brent Venables turns back to him and says, Jackson, you're my guy. I've always loved you. Get in there, kid. And it's like, 10-0 Auburn. What's he thinking then?
Well, because look, if I'm Jackson, I'm like, I ain't got no running game.
No.
We can't run the ball at all. I've got no protection. I've got an unproven OC, and I'm the guy that's getting changed. Me?
Yeah. I mean, they've said it, Catch, that. What was it, like 12 different combinations of offensive line have played for them already this year? And that was by like the second quarter, I think, of the Tennessee
And look,
game.
Don't get me wrong. He's been awful. Jackson Arnold was awful on Saturday. But that's the risk of playing a young quarterback. I can't point to Cade Klubnik enough. I've watched him really closely the last 2 weeks, and he just looks like a guy that has figured it out. He's running that offense, and when they're not playing Georgia, it's like, oh God, that guy looks like $1 million. He looks like he's going to be a top 10 NFL pick.
Funny how running an offense changes when Georgia's not on the other side of the ball.
For real.
Yeah.
But you know what? On paper, Tennessee is a better defense than Georgia right now. They're allowing fewer points. They're allowing fewer yards. That is a reputable Tennessee defense. And you got to give your young quarterback. I'm stunned. And I think there are Oklahoma fans who will look at the season so far and they'll say, no, you got to take Jackson Arnold out. He's the problem. And I just think that's not seeing the forest through the trees. To give up on Jackson Arnold right now means that there is no plan for the future. And if you're telling me that Hawkins is the plan after leading one touchdown drive against Tennessee late in the game, well, we're just turning the car keys over. Well, then why wasn't Hawkins starting earlier?
Right. Yeah.
It is the surest sign that Brent Venables won't be the head coach at Oklahoma for more than the next 15 months. He's out. Oklahoma fans, y'all need to just start thinking about what's next.
Typo, thank you for that chat. We've got a couple super chats we will get to. Before that, though, Catch, why don't you tell them a little bit about Rogue Shop and what they can do for them?
Oh, it's real simple. Scan that QR code, use Orange Bloods as the discount, your promo code, get that discount, and just take that first step. Headaches, sleeplessness, anxiety, pain. You get the salve, you rub it on your body. It's like a natural Bengay of sorts. It works. It makes the pain feel better. It makes the pain go away. And I talk about I have an 85-year-old uncle who uses the salve because he's got a bunch of bad aches and pains, and this helps. And this was a guy that would have been anti-CBD. This is a guy that would have been anti-TCH. This is a guy that, or THC, excuse me. This is a guy that would have had negative thoughts his entire life. And now he realizes I was just wrong. This works. It helps. It has no risk involved in it in terms of putting the salve and using it to control pain. There's just so many reasons. Again, scan a QR code, go to rogueshop.com, ask questions in the chat if you have any at all, but go shopping. Go shopping for things that will aid whatever issues you might have. Let your life be a little bit better. I can't endorse it anymore. Love the product, love the people. They're Orange Bloods through and through. Go to Rogue Shop today.
Shout out to Rogue Shop. And it is understandable that Catch might mix up a THC and a TCH since
that is completely fair.
We are brought to you by Card House. Remember, TCH Social Austin is open for you at 183 in Anderson Mill. 6 locations of Texas Card House around the great state of Texas. Thank you for jumping.
Hey, Chad.
Yes, sir.
True story. After having lunch at the Card House Social last week, I've been craving the chicken tenders.
Yeah?
I want to go back. I thought about that this week. It was like, kind of the same feeling that I had with when we went to, oh my God, fill in the blank for me.
Hey City Store, Taste on Me.
How the hell could I forget that? Kind of the same feeling where it's like, you know what, if I could, that's where I would go right now to get something to eat. Like a lasting impression.
It's good.
That I want to engage in again. So how good are the chicken tenders? I normally would be like, roll my eyes, but I'm telling you, so good that I want to go back when I'm in Austin as soon as possible for seconds.
Very cool. Just about to hit 1 o'clock here. We got a couple super chats to get us over that hump. $9.99 from Paul. Venables showing he should never run for public office. The Horns PTSD in me worries Casey enters the game and something stupid happens. Prime on prime, Gal Gadot hotter than Linda Carter. Well, that's a bop.
Paul, good job getting a lot into the super chat.
Mm-hmm.
You took advantage. You put multiple thought processes in this. Casey Thompson does not want to play Texas. Well, I don't know that you want to volunteer for that defense right now. They're playing really well.
True.
Maybe start with Auburn and see what happens.
Yeah.
The answer here is Gal Gadot's hotter than Linda Carter.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's an absolute buy. Both are great Wonder Women. Is that how to say that? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Paul, thank you very much for that super chat. Jay, one of our other favorite chatters, jumps in with a 5 spot. Thank you, Jay. BV, what was best for one player out of fear of losing him, or did what was best for one player with fear of losing him, and not what was best for his program, keeping Gabriel. You reap what you sow.
I kind of disagree with that, Jay Lee, because I think they felt like the thing that was best for the program was catering to the needs of the player that was going to be there the longest. And there's a little bit of, I think, Major Applewhite, Chris Sims going on here. I think Oklahoma looked at Dylan Gabriel and said, that guy's good, but as we go into the SEC, can he win us a championship? Mm-hmm. And I think they thought, nope. He belongs in the Hall of Very Good. We need a Hall of Very Great. And they said, well, is Jackson Arnold either of those two things? No. But they'll rather take the chance with the devil they don't know versus the devil they do know, when the devil they do know is somebody that they think has a ceiling.
And one of them was the devil that they thought they were okay with leaving. And Jackson's the devil that can't leave.
Yeah.
In their mind.
And their thought process was, Dylan Gabriel probably gets us to could get us to a 9-3 or to a 10-2. Now, in a Matt Brown world, they keep Dylan Gabriel for that reason. Hey, not turning away 10-2. But they were thinking to themselves, how do we win 11-12? And they convinced themselves, and I don't think erroneously, they convinced themselves he's got the higher upside. If he can reach it quickly, our pathway to being, because look, 9-3 is not getting you into the playoffs. So they may have said, with our schedule, we're a 9-3 team with Dylan Gabriel. Are we willing to settle for that? And I think they thought Texas is going in there. We're Oklahoma. We're not much. We don't settle. We go for championships. I think they went for the young upside for the exact same reason that Texas replaced Major Applewhite with Chris Sims. Mac Brown at the time looked at Major Applewhite and said, he's a good player, but against elite defenses, against elite competition, he's not good enough. They saw him play against Kansas State, saw it a few too many times where they just felt he was overmatched. But he was better than Chris Sims. But the gamble was that by playing Chris Sims, you could get him to reach his potential. And his potential was higher than Major Applewhite's. Hence, he was a starting quarterback in the NFL for a playoff team. Now, we can debate just how good Chris Sims was as a quarterback in the NFL on those Bucs teams. I'm sure Chad has thoughts on those. But he was. He wasn't a plus quarterback on a playoff team in the NFL, but he was a starting quarterback on a playoff team in the NFL. Something that Major Applewhite never got close to being. That's what Texas gambled on, and it didn't work. I understand the gamble. What I won't allow is Oklahoma fans to disingenuously act like there wasn't a choice. There was. And I'm not telling you that you made the wrong choice, but you can't pretend that Dylan Gabriel, he just left on his own and we had nothing that we could do about it. Really? Really? Oh, there was nothing that you could do? Or there was an unpopular thing that you could do? Because the truth of the matter is, if Dylan Gabriel's on this Oklahoma team, they lose that game on Saturday anyway. So you have the exact same record that you would have otherwise had. Your offensive line is still garbage. You still can't run the ball. And some of your best receivers are still hurt. Dylan Gabriel doesn't change what would have happened last weekend.
Jay jumping back in with a $5 super chat. Aaron Murray, former Georgia quarterback, has a YouTube show where he goes over the game. The plays and schemes of Luttrell are worse than the quarterback play itself. All right.
Look, they can't. There's nothing that they do well. They don't block. They don't run. They don't pass. They don't do anything well.
Yeah. I will say this, Catch, as somebody who is following the Aggie football team closely right now, watching Oklahoma block and run after watching A&M block and run makes me feel a lot better about A&M trying to block and run.
Well, yeah, because everything will feel better when you compare it to something truly awful.
It really does make me feel a little bit better. Like, whatever I think of Le'Veon Moss before I start watching Oklahoma's offense, I think a lot more of Le'Veon afterwards.
It's like when you go out with your wife, every once in a while, it's your marriage, right? So wife nags husband, husband nags her. I'll give you an example. Last night, I put a package of Aquafina water. Mm-hmm. I just picked this huge ass package of water. The fridge had an opening. I put the whole thing, rather than take the bottles out, and I put the whole thing in there. Mm-hmm. And in doing so, I knocked over some milk. Now, it's not my fault that apparently whatever milk I didn't even get up out of bed. It was late. I was tired. You know what? You can clean this one up, even if it's my fault. Somebody didn't put the cap on the milk or something. The milk spilled. Whenever you spill anything in the fridge, it makes a big mess. And it gets all underneath the plastic and stuff, and it's not good. So my wife last night, Heather, legitimately could have been thinking to herself, I am sick of my husband. My husband is the worst. Why is he not up right now cleaning up the milk? But I'm going to tell you right now, if we went out with some people or she starts talking to some friends and their friends start talking about their husbands or boyfriends, and then suddenly it's like, you know what? The milk spilled in the fridge doesn't seem like such a bad thing after all. True, but you're really using a terrible bar to measure that by.
Yeah. I like that you have such a wonderful old soul that you literally found an example that involves spilled milk and then the reaction to the spilled milk. Well done. Well done. That is on the nose. I mean, that's really well done.
Very meta.
It really is. There's multi-layers to that. There's just multiple layers to it. I absolutely love that. All of the super chats are gone. I don't love that. We would love for you to get a super chat in. It will go right to the top of the list if you throw us a super chat. We got buy or sell coming right up. Before we get that, let me talk about breathing and sleeping and sinus and snoring specialists. They're right there at Parmer and Mopac, one of my favorite places on earth because no other places got me sleeping like they did. Back in 2017, I went in there and the balloon sinuplasty procedure was part of it. They also cut my uvula, the punching bag in the back of your throat. It was 4 times too big, they said. And I'm like, what? And they literally cut it, trimmed it down. And that was helping to add to my snoring. I never would have thought of it. The only bad part of that is I can't imitate Chewbacca anymore. But I'll take it because I've been sleeping like a baby since 2017. All kinds of great options they have for you. My path might be yours, but you might have a normal size punching bag in your throat and it won't matter. But for you, they'll figure out exactly how to get you feeling better, sleeping better, resting better. They can get rid of your allergies for good. They can get rid of that sleep apnea, the snoring issues you're having. Check them out. Sinus and snoring specialists. It's 601-0303 if you want to call them. If you're on the line, it's sinussnoringent.com. Sinus and snoring specialists. Feel clear, rested, and healthy. All right, so we, as I mentioned, cleaned off with super chats. I know, Catch, at some point we were maybe going to talk about playoff projection, but we are to 110 now. You want to buy or sell? You'll talk
Let's
playoff.
go
What do
buy
you
or
want to do?
sell. Like, we'll see how it goes. We can always save the playoff for tomorrow. Like, that's evergreen.
All righty. You want to go first or second?
Hold on. Scott, what are we doing?
Scott in Texas. It's like Roseanne Barr hotter than Rosie O'Donnell. Come on, man. What is the comparison?
I don't know. But
maybe he's saying that the idea of comparing you as a husband to whoever that other husband would be is like comparing Roseanne Barr and Rosie O'Donnell. I don't know.
I mean, that could be.
That's the only thing
I would offer. I'm actually a pretty good, like, great husband.
Yeah.
I'm a husband of the year material. I just occasionally spill some milk.
I'm a big fan of the guys in the world that love to throw this hotter than out in some form, thinking that it is the greatest example that they have of just the most repulsive human beings that have ever lived. And I just never see either. I've never seen either of those ladies that way. They both have attractive qualities to me, and
there
have
are
had
men
them
that
over
like
the
to
years.
treat them like they're ogres.
They do. They do like to treat them like they're completely useless as attractive humans, and I just don't get it. So here's the question to you, Scott. Find a woman in your life, if you can't do this particular part of it, what's the male equivalent to that? And by the way, Darwin, you're absolutely right. So what would be the male equivalent?
I think I disagree.
Okay, well, there you go. In fact, Catch, you can ask your wife. I'll ask my wife. Who are two men that women, because a lot of men agree with Scott. A lot of men would agree with that. What's the male version of that for ladies? South End Zone Queen, let us know. Who is it? Who are just two, in your mind, just buckets of unattractiveness that you would put together as a joke and go, hey, blah, 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 hotter than blah, 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 and be like, blah. Like, who are your two guys? Let us know. Let us know who it is.
Chad, that last 15 seconds might be my favorite 15 seconds in history.
I don't know.
Because I have a feeling in the future, I'm going to go with the, who was the blah, blah, blah that was better than the blah, blah, blah that made you go, ha, ha, ha.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of English words in that sequence. There were a couple.
Now, see this, I'm going to believe.
I mean,
there's
really?
no way. John Candy? No. And women, I think, like both of those guys.
I mean, I get that the society likes to play the, if somebody's overweight,
oh, damn, but you know what?
They're unattractive.
South End Zone Queen confirmed it.
Really? All right. John Candy versus John Goodman. It really is that. I'm telling you, Catch. It's a sad state of affairs. CC DeVille of Poison was right. This society would rather you be a coke addict than be severely overweight.
I was going to throw like Ron Jeremy because I don't find him attractive.
Okay.
Like, who repulses me? Goodman and Candy don't repulse me.
What is this? Will Ferrell and Jack Black. Oh, my God. Oh, Lord. I don't enjoy the Will Ferrell commercial where he's singing that Fleetwood Mac song too much, but Gary and Keith. Now, there's a pair right there.
Woo! On Instagram yesterday, there's like a page that's like movie openings, and all the page does is post photos from movie openings over the years. And it was a movie opening from the early 90s that Gary Busey went to. Mm-hmm. And I got to say, I didn't recognize his date, but she didn't think he was repulsive.
No. There have been some ladies that were into some Gary Busey over the years. All right. Slight detour on today's show. Have we started buy or sell? Is that what we were about to do? What were we about to do?
I feel like there's 100 buy or sell questions in the chat right now.
All right. See this one. I mean, Danny DeVito and Jay Leno. This is It's interesting. There's a lot. Boy,
I just feel like there has to be something worse than what we're seeing.
I do too. I've not seen a comparison yet that I what Gene Simmons and Danny DeVito. I'm so glad I asked this question. It might be the greatest question I've asked the chat so far since we started this.
Women love Gene Simmons, though.
I know. I was going to say, Gene Simmons, if you've had sex with that many women in your life, I don't think you can be put into this kind of category. I don't think that works. I'm not sure if that works. All right. Catch, you want to go first or second in buy or sell?
I can't stop. Mr. Bean.
Little Rowan Atkinson. Come on.
Rowan just caught a stray.
You're giving Rowan Atkinson so much hell. You're going to put Gary, prime on prime, whatever that is. Like Gary Busey from Point Break up against Rowan Atkinson in prime Mr. Bean. I don't think either of those guys is horrifically unattractive. I go Busey, but I don't think Rowan Atkinson was a bad-looking dude in his prime. He's not a bad-looking dude today.
Now, is Paul saying Skeletor the actual Skeletor, or is that?
Wow.
I mean, is he saying it, Chad?
I'm assuming he means, like He-Man's arch nemesis.
No, I thought he was talking about Mulkey, which wouldn't make sense because she's not a man.
No, I think he's legitimately talking about how get you He-Man. I mean, Skeletor. Like,
Paul, can you confirm, is that Brent Venables and the actual Skeletor? Or
yes.
Were you saying Brent Venables and Kim Mulkey?
Because I think Paul is trying to make a Brent Venables looks like Skeletor joke. Like he could have just as easily said Brent Venables and the Crypt Keeper.
Oh.
Right? Because everybody always thought the Crypt Keeper, Phil Collins and Moby. All right, this is my new favorite game. This is my new favorite game to just randomly throw out strange hotter thans between two men. This is the weirdest discussion ever. Wow.
Just for confirmation, the Skeletor.
The Skeletor. The Skeletor.
Which I'm still not sure. Are you talking about Kim Mulkey or not?
Come on, man. That's not fair. That is not fair. That is not what she is. She's not Skeletor. Not Skeletor. It's a different type of villain.
This is not nice.
Wow. Now that's a battle. That's a battle.
I think I would have relations with John Candy before Lou Holtz.
I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. I don't even know what to say.
Do you, Jeff? Okay.
Uncle Lou,
noted.
Uncle Lou versus Uncle Buck. I have no idea what to do with that one. I don't know what to do with it. Oh my God.
Now, you know what?
Oh, wow. I mean, after Flavor Flav reinvents himself as the USA women's water polo
I'm
hero.
just going with Beetlejuice on this one.
I mean, come on.
The old Howard Stern character.
It's just wrong. Oh, is that what it is? No, come on. Come on. You got to give Flavor Flav a little more respect than that. It's Flavor Flav. David, Flavor Flav is the answer to that one. It's Flavor Flav. Come on. Come on. At least John Candy would have just see. That's just wow. Wow. We've really gone down a dark path. I feel bad I asked now. I should have just let the Roseanne and Rosie thing sit, but I couldn't do it. And we've gotten a couple I enjoyed. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I can't figure it out. I don't know.
All right, let's do buy or sell. Otherwise,
right. First or second?
It's going to have to stop.
First or second?
I'm going to go second today.
All right, let's start up in Norman. Buy or sell number one. The OU quarterback decision tells you Texas wins by 21 plus on October 12th.
Buy.
Okay.
I don't know what my score is yet for that game, so I don't want to get married to a prediction, but Texas is going to score a lot of points. I don't know what that Oklahoma is, so yeah, probably.
Yeah, Texas fans, I might start with 45-12 just for the sake of, a little 05
It
remember.
ain't going to be 45-35.
Yeah, it will not be that. Buy or sell number 2, Catch. The Washington Commanders are better off than the Dallas Cowboys today.
Buy. Had that thought last night.
Yeah. You and I have some of the same sick Dallas Cowboys thoughts at the same moments.
I watched that game last night and I was like, we know what Dak is. There's a lot of unknown with Daniels, but it feels like he could be. I look at that guy and go, he could win a Super Bowl. Like that's his upside. So
they
he's younger. There's yes, buy. They are better off than we are.
They just feel like they got a plan, certainly. By the way, just to try to be a respectful Cowboys fan and give 2 receivers in the Cowboys division credit. Malik Neighbors, that's one of the silliest catches I've ever seen. And last night, Scary Terry, that's one of the craziest catches I've ever seen. Bravo to both of you. Unbelievable. Catch, buy or sell number 3.
Real quick, by the way.
Yeah.
CD, come on. Like, he probably gets a pass.
Wait, what happened? What do you mean? CD what?
Dropping balls, and I just didn't feel like he was all the way invested on Sunday.
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Speaking of the NFL, buy or sell number 3, you like 2 Monday Night Football games on the same night?
Sell. I like one single good NFL game. And I found myself watching a movie and timed it so that I could watch the fourth quarter of Cincinnati and Washington and had no interest in Buffalo and Jacksonville. I can't watch Jacksonville. Jacksonville is a turn it to something else. And I was also watching the Phillies last night, clinching the division for the first time since 2011. I hate your Braves, man. Fuck them.
Damn. Even after all that, I was going to say it anyway. So I will say congrats for the division win last night. Congrats to you.
The Braves just win a lot. Like, to not win the division in 13 years is such a harsh reminder of the team in the division that does win quite frequently a lot over those 13 years.
All right, Catch. Tough decision here. Buy or sell number 4. Jim Henson would have been 88 years old today. Rest in peace. A Mount Rushmore of Muppets must include Kermit and Big Bird. Then talk about the other 2 spots.
I've never thought of Big Bird as a Muppet.
Okay.
Not on the Muppet Show.
Definitely not on the Muppet Show, but certainly is a Muppet, one of the most famous Muppets, and one of the most important Muppets historically.
I mean, look, if you're merging, if you're going to include Big Bird in the Muppet world, and hold on, let me just do something real quick.
Catch, the Muppets were created for Sesame Street.
Yeah, but
right? Like the Muppets or Sesame Street.
The Muppets, if the Muppets were created for Sesame Street, right, then the Sesame Street's not the Muppets.
Okay, but anything Jim Henson would have created that's a puppet is a Muppet.
All
whether
right,
it's Sesame Street.
Wikipedia is calling Big Bird a Muppet character.
Okay.
So if Wikipedia is calling Big Bird a Muppet character,
yeah,
I will include Big Bird in the Muppet characters, which I wouldn't prior to being asked this question.
Okay, so if you're including Big Bird, does he
Big
rise?
Bird has to be on the Mount Rushmore.
Okay, all right.
Along with Kermit. And then so it's a buy. Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. You're taking the 2 biggest Muppets of all time. I think the real question is, and I think the real conversation and argument is over 3 and 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's a huge part of me that says Mr. Elmo does not deserve to be in the discussion. And then there's another part of me that says, if you're going to be fair to the discussion, he might be. Like, I'm not a huge fan myself, but in terms of like worldwide renown, I think Elmo might be there, Catch. Just saying.
I mean, Fozzie's got to be on Mount Rushmore.
He'd be on mine, right? Fozzie, Waka Waka would be right there. Maybe you just go Fozzie and Miss Piggy and move on. I don't know. Just think on that, Muppet fans. Let me finish off with another football one. Catch buy or sell number 5. You like Bama to beat Georgia on Saturday, and if it happens, the Dogs won't go to Atlanta.
I don't know what I think of this game.
Okay.
It feels like Georgia can come into this with a little bit of attitude. So I think Georgia's going to beat Alabama this weekend.
Okay. By the way,
now, if Georgia were to lose to Alabama, then yes, I think it means that the Dogs won't go to Atlanta. But for right now, I'm going to give Georgia the benefit of the doubt. Alabama is still a program with a new head coach, a new way of doing things. And maybe they're half a season, maybe they're 6-7 games away from being the Alabama under Nick Saban that would beat Georgia. So there's my answer.
And that game will dovetail right into, or I should say the Texas game dovetails right into that one. That's a 6:30 start, Georgia and Bama. All right, there's half a buy or sell. What do you got, Catch?
Buy or sell number 1, Jeff Lebby knew.
I like yesterday was the long, drawn out, like hammer him with a word.
There were like 50 words in my one sentence.
And today it's just, you didn't even take the time to type it out. You're just like, I already put it on my nameplate. No problem. Buy. That's a buy. Jeff Ketchum, that's a buy.
Buy or sell number 2. Something's up with Patrick Mahomes. I thought he sucked on Sunday.
Something's up with Patrick Mahomes.
I just don't think I don't know what it is, but for me,
he's still damn good, but I'll buy. That's how great they are. There is something, it feels like there's something a little different, and they're still 3-0, and they're still trying to go for 3 in a row. They do not feel quite like, a Super Bowl champ right now, but they've done that.
Winning games, that's what feels Super Bowl champy.
They've done that before. He's admitted something's going on, so I have to buy it because Patrick would buy this. So I have to buy, but obviously, Catch, they are the ultimate, they are the Jason Voorhees of the NFL. You better kill them. You better have a knife planted in that hockey mask. You better have them down at the bottom of the river, bottom of the lake, and don't you dare have a chain that could connect to their heart where the lightning could bring them back. You better make sure the Chiefs are dead if you can kill them.
I'm with you. Buy or sell number 3. Brett Favre on Tuesday at a congressional hearing revealed that he has Parkinson's disease.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Buy or sell. Screw him. He stole money from poor people.
Buy. I'm going to buy the part of it that you just mentioned. It's obviously sad that he has Parkinson's disease, but yes, he did that to those people, and he deserves to be ridiculed and punished for it. It's horrible.
How's he not in jail?
I don't know. That's been a while. They've done some documentaries on those investigations and stuff, and it's like one of those, like they've got his connection to it, and some of those people involved have served some jail time, but somehow he's avoided it, and they haven't had quite enough evidence to prove that, he did enough. It's weird, but I'm with you. I don't know why he hadn't been punished.
He told the Today Show today that he had hundreds, maybe thousands of concussions during his career. Is Brett not able to count? How many NFL games did you play in, Brett, in your career? Oh, no, like 300. How many concussions did you have? 9,000?
Thousands of concussions. That's sad to hear. Hopefully we'll see, hopefully the rest of his life is somewhat normal. But that's great. Did he say how long has he just been diagnosed with Parkinson's?
I'd have to go back and read that whole story. I believe so.
Gotcha. Okay.
Buy or sell number 4. If you were a Muppet, you would rather have a secret love affair with Snuffleupagus than Big Bird.
Wow. If I was a Muppet, I'd rather have a secret love affair.
Or just a love affair. Maybe it doesn't need to be secret.
Or maybe it could be public and all of Sesame
Yes.
Street would know. And maybe Oscar the Grouch would know and would spread the word and gossip about it. Wow. I think I'm going to buy because I just don't know how that would work mathematically or logistically. So the challenge of it is interesting. I'm buying because I'm trying to figure out what kind of Muppet would I be that would be advantageous to having an affair with either of those Muppets. I'm going to go with Snuffy, though. Always a mysterious cat, Snuffy. Because at the beginning, Snuffy was invisible, supposedly, right? Snuffy was a manifestation of Big Bird's mind and then later became a real thing. So I don't know, but I'll buy. I will buy. Just a dude. It's our relationship.
Don't judge.
Stay out of our
their relationship.
All right. You have no idea who's Greg Maddux and you have no idea who's Gary Carter. So you stay out of it. All right. Stay out of it. And you know what, Tex guy? Yeah. Again, I'm just glad you think there are rails. I'm glad that you think.
I know what.
I'm glad you think there are rails. Hey, we must be still on the rails. Oscar just sent a super chat, $4.99. Brett's a POS, but every time you have any impact on the brain,
I have a final buy or sell question.
That bumps. I'm sorry. I'm terribly sorry.
Buy or sell number 5. Wendy is content with the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback situation as it stands.
Buy. Absolutely. Yeah, content is a good word. Winning games, leaning on a defense, and the kid's making a play or two for him. And he's got feet. She can see it, Catch, that they're not an elite badass running team. So because of that, you need a quarterback that's got a little feet to him. And this version of Russ isn't going to have as much feet. So she digs it. She digs it for now.
So,
let him
I don't know
two.
how to end the show now.
Yeah, let them lose 2, and then we'll see. We got a super chat from Oscar, $4.99. Brett's a POS, but every time you have any impact on the brain, it bumps against the skull or bruises it. They consider it a concussion. Yeah, all right, there you go. So who knows? Maybe it is hundreds or thousands. I don't know, Oscar. I don't know. Michael says Chad feels like Gonzo. All right.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm not sure what to say.
Hey, by the way, we missed this super chat.
Any chance Hawkins isn't a Caleb Williams starter kit waiting to illegally snatch a ball from his own player and beat UT Texas by 50?
Any chance Hawkins isn't? Well, yeah, there's a lot of chance he's not Caleb Williams.
There you go.
I think you meant to say any chance Hawkins is.
That it is. I think Barb's 10 is trying to throw out that idea of like just making sure before, but you can tell Barb's 10 at the end thinks Texas is going to thrash them. But Catch, you know how you got to be careful. The Texas fans do have to be careful that week of October because there's that thing of it's a rival game, it's a neutral, and you don't want to freak out too much. Do Fraggle Rock or Dark Crystal get any of their Muppets on the Mount Rushmore? No. Nope.
I mean, I wish I could make a case for Gobo, but I can't.
Gobo's a badass, not that level badass.
I mean, we're not going to put Gobo over Fozzie the Bear.
Nope.
I mean, and I love both characters, but
hey, I ain't putting Gobo over Animal. Like, I mean, come on.
Is Animal on the Mount Rushmore?
No, I don't think I'd go that far. I don't think I'd go that far with Animal. I would just say
second on Sesame Street.
Who's the second from Sesame
Big
Street?
Bird's obvious #1 draft pick.
Probably Oscar the Grouch.
I mean, I have no opinion on this. I haven't thought it through.
Like Bert and Ernie are a level down. Snuffleupagus level down. Oscar the Grouch is legendary. Oscar the Grouch has its place because of what it represented. I can make an argument for Oscar. Honestly, I can make an argument for Kermit, Big Bird, Oscar.
The Count?
The Count's pretty big time, but I don't honestly Catch in the end. it's almost like in the end, if you're doing the wrestling thing, you almost kind of got to lean towards like a Hogan or a Cena because of their impact on kids. I think Elbow might be on the Mount Rushmore. I'm not a huge fan, but
here's my Mount Rushmore.
All right.
Big Bird, Kermit, Fozzie, Piggy. I'm going 3 from the Muppets. Sesame Street gets 1.
Yeah, I could live with that because I think those are so iconic. It's probably because I'm such a fan of the original Muppet movie so much. But yeah, I can live with that because it's hard to talk about Muppets without talking about those 3.
Well, and then, the reality is there were people, real people in in Sesame Street that somewhat makes the other Muppets secondary. Big Bird's the alpha Muppet. But you're right. Everybody else feels like a true supporting character. Whereas I feel like there's a big 3. Kermit is Kermit, but there are movies where Miss Piggy is the dominant Muppet, and Fozzie's Fozzie. Fozzie's like in the middle of both.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Grover too. Like I'm a Grover guy. I just don't know if Grover is Mount Rushmore level Muppet. He's awesome, but yeah. So there you go. Oh God.
Oh no, I don't know what you're seeing because I went way back. Cookie Monster.
This just read that to yourself, Catch. I'm not going to read it out loud. That's an old school reference to get that nasty. Michael, thank you so much for that. We're just going to move right on. We are
Cookie Monster.
On. Cookie Monster. Yeah, Cookie Monster is pretty big time too. That's a big one.
Cookie Monster might. Breaking news.
Breaking news.
Jason Sukumel does have a broken hand.
It is official.
It's official.
Jason Sukumel broke his hand while trying to play the I'm Still Young game with his children. He jumped up. What was he trying to do? Jump up and touch a ceiling?
Yes.
He achieved his goal and then couldn't stick the landing without breaking his own hand. Yeah. I'm going to get all the details of that tomorrow on the recruiting hour. That's going to be half the show on the recruiting hour. Thank you all for jumping in. Over 900 of you in the Specs chat. Speaking of Specs, Jason might need some brown water at this point. Jason may need a good shot of whiskey. They got a whiskey sale going on right now.
Specs for our whiskey sale and enjoy the lowest prices on Texas' largest selection of whiskey. But hurry, these deals won't last long. Specs, cheers to savings.
For the record, was it the writing hand or the non-writing hand? Do you know? Is it his dominant hand?
I think it is his right hand.
Oh, that is terrible. That is just terrible. All right, let's see. I think I had some chats.
I hope not. We've accomplished enough in this show today.
You ready? We go back. One quick one on Venables. If you're to this point, Venables equals Charlie Strong, good DC, but overwhelmed as head coach. That's from Mark. I know you made a reference earlier this year about Mike Elko giving you Charlie Strong vibes. Is that what you get from Venables, or is it different?
I just don't think he's good enough. So
it
depends on how you want to frame Charlie Strong. I don't think Venables is the worst Oklahoma coach that Oklahoma's ever had. I don't believe that.
Okay. Do you think he is a DC on the level of a Charlie Strong?
Probably.
Right? Because I
would actually rank him above Charlie as a DC.
Because wasn't he the DC for both Clemson titles?
Yeah, no, like I said, I would rank him above Charlie.
Okay.
And look, if Venables was on the market today, he'd get a job in no time as a DC at a top school. Charlie Strong is he's a reporter now.
Right. Well, there's a fine line for me, Catch, where I think and pardon the pun, if you will, it's a very strong statement to compare someone to Charlie Strong as a head coach for me after watching what happened at Texas. Because I think you have to have an ingredient of not just bad football, but at times dumb football. You got to get another layer in there about you need to show me a moment where I don't think you understand the game and certain basic rules and stuff. Charlie went to those levels at times at Texas. To me, that's different than what I've seen out of either Venables or Elko. But it is interesting that two of Texas's big rivals are going with those kinds of coaches, defensive-minded guys trying to prove that they can be a big-time head coach. Interesting. Mark, thank you for that chat. Let's see. What else do we have? I think we're good. Somebody did make a chat referencing the you versus John Bianco basketball game earlier. Do you want to revisit or not?
I mean, we can. I'm not going to run away from that.
Somebody's obviously not. Teta says, have the betting odds dropped yet for the rematch, #rematch, Catch Bianco 2?
That is not going to happen. Because the thing is, I wouldn't want the results of 2024 to somehow dictate the way 1994 is remembered.
No, we need to have Anwar Richardson sit down with you and Bianco and just rehash the whole situation and find out, 30 years later, find out what happened. That's what we need to do.
I don't even know if I can have that conversation with John. He told Anwar that he spotted me 10 points, which is
So you can't even meet him where he lives on this because you feel like he's starting out with just a bold-faced lie.
That is a bold-faced lie.
Okay.
I've never played I can't think of any sport that I've ever played against anybody where I've ever accepted a head start.
Really?
No.
Because if I ever play golf with Bo Edge, I'm going to need 20 strokes just to show up. Like, there's no way.
I don't play golf, though. So that is a game that maybe I would feel different about that. But of the games I play, I would never. The thing that I remember about that, as I was thinking a little bit more about it yesterday, is there was some genuine smack talk.
Yeah.
In the office leading up to it.
So, okay, as you guys were getting ready for it, like how you had did you have a week? How long was the lead up? How long was pre-fight?
Man, I don't really remember how it started other than I as a student intern, maybe even at that time I was getting paid because that would have been in the fall of 1994. I think he just probably knew that I was a hooper and would come in. Like a lot of times I would leave work and go to the park, and somewhere along the lines, a challenge was issued, a little bit of smack talk. And that's how you end up in John Bianco's car driving around Central Austin looking for a place to play.
Do you remember who initially challenged?
I had to have said something to him.
Okay. You threw it out first.
I would have to think he said something like a wisecrack, and I was like, well, let's play.
Okay, just to be clear, Big Cheddar is trying to make this nice if he can. You don't think Bianco told that to Anwar as a tongue-in-cheek comment?
I don't know. Okay. But Anwar has not stepped forward to say that it was tongue-in-cheek.
Okay, so we got to find that out maybe. Maybe to double-check that with Anwar. Hey, is there a chance there was a little tinge of like he was joking, he was smiling, he's just messing around 30 years later?
I think all these years later, John's trying to punk me.
Okay. All right. Just Big Cheddar's trying. And I don't agree with Binks here. Catch Bianco 2 will be about as bad as Coming to America 30 years later. Binks.
I don't know that Catch Bianco 1 was Coming to America 2.
No, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to say Catch Bianco 1 and Catch Bianco 2 would both be better than the Coming to America sequel. Let's not.
I think that one of the things that I started to remember about playing John was that, John's a little bit of like an undersized guy. He's not short, but he's not like a big guy. And I can remember being pretty physical in the post, that I took him down low and kind of shacked it a little bit where, I could just I was big enough that I could throw my weight around on him and that just he wasn't going to be able to really defend me in the post. And I don't think he liked, me dipping my shoulder. He might have even called a charge or something. Like it was, we got to the point where charges were being called. And, I realized, okay, we need to stop playing because I'm not going to have a career if we finish this game.
Pick up basketball stories. All right, we'll try to get to the bottom of that one.
30-year-old pickup.
30.
How do I even remember?
It's the best. It is the absolute best. All right, before we get out of here, I do have one more thing to mention in terms of our great partners around here, and it is the good stuff at Taste on Main. Catch was talking about earlier, that notion of you go somewhere and you have great food, and then it just kind of follows you. It kind of lingers there. Let me tell you, if you're looking for a brunch, the brunch at Taste on Main is awesome. Saturdays and Sundays, it is 10 to 3. Let me make sure I got my time right. Yes, 10 to 3 on the brunch. You got happy hours 7 days a week from 4 to 6. It's just a great place. Maybe it's an evening stop. If you want a great steak, it's wonderful for that. Or, again, if you're looking for a great brunch, I've recommended the beignets before. I will definitely do that again. That smash burger is incredible. And if you're like me and you're into some Brussels sprouts, but only if they're good, Taste on Main has the best Brussels sprouts I've ever had in my life. Order them, try them, and you tell me I'm crazy. Main Street in Buda. Go see them at Taste on Main. Tell Travis and Tamara and the crew that we say hello. Get on over there as soon as you can. All right, Jeff Ketchum, anything else we need to hit today?
No. I'm looking at a cast picture of Saturday Night Live from 1992.
Okay.
And I'm trying to find the two ugly people.
Damn.
That's where my head is because of this show.
I really do. Now every time I hang out with women, I'm going to start asking that question.
Oh.
Who are the two most repulsive famous men you can come up with where you would put, and I'll just give them the example because men love to go Roseanne Barr, Rosie O'Donnell. I think the names being similar helped them out too. They're both super famous. They both had moments that made people recoil away from them, and they both have that rose sound in their name. But I don't know what the male equivalent is. And we didn't get full agreement today. We had everything from Danny DeVito to Gary Busey to Adam Sandler. They were all over the place. Say what you will about Adam Sandler, but he's not that disgusting, is he? I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe he is to some people.
Again, I'm like you. I'm going to ask this question to 100 women by the end of the year.
Yeah, let's just find out. Who is it? Who is it? And then for you and me, we should come up with I feel like there's a lot of women, famous women I would put, below Rosie and Rosie.
I have never thought about it, but maybe I need to.
Right? There's just got to be a couple. There's got to be a couple that I would put below that. All right. Oh, wow. Here we go. Ready? Darwin. End zone queen. Prime on prime. Chatter catch.
I don't think that she's seen photos of us in Prime on Prime.
Yeah. What are you talking about? She gets to see Prime on Prime every day.
I'm post-Prime.
What? What are you talking about?
But go back to when I met my wife.
Okay. That's the one.
That's my Prime.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My Prime
became domesticated.
My Prime would probably be when I was playing tennis every day and had a tan and had the mullet, and that's probably it. As sad as that is to say, that's probably the Prime. That's one of those sad facts when you realize, what was your Prime? And then you say, well, my Prime was here. Then you think about it and you go, damn, that was my Prime? Damn,
Facebook just gave me one participant for tomorrow's Hotter Than.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Yep.
I'm
already thinking.
Already got some work done for tomorrow. Mike throws in a $10 super chat. Best Daniel Day-Lewis film. Mike, thank you for that super chat. I am ineligible. I've never seen one. Catch, what's the best Daniel Day-Lewis movie?
Chad.
Yes.
How? I know we're revisiting this.
Mm-hmm.
Never.
Yeah. Never saw one of those movies. Like I know what the big ones are called, but like I never had the need to go see. He's My Left Foot, right? Is that him or is that somebody else?
He is. That is an incredible performance that is really unlike anything I've ever seen before.
Yeah, never saw that one. Obviously, I know like Gangs of New York is him, and that's a big one. I need to see that one. That's probably the one I need to see. Like maybe you tell me if I'm gonna start the Daniel Day-Lewis run, is Gangs of New York where I start?
It might look. Gangs of New York is a very polarizing movie. There are some people that think Cameron Diaz ruins the movie and that the movie sucks and that it is not good. Okay. I've watched Gangs of New York 100 times. I love it. And
am I also right in saying Leo's in that movie?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Gangs of New York.
All right.
Is that the movie to start with? The thing is, most of the movies are fairly heavy.
I was going to say,
I think The Last of the Mohicans is a great movie. I might start there.
Yeah. See, you just answered the question, Catch. When I'm looking for those movies, like if it was going to be date night or if it was going to be friends hanging out watching a movie, I just never had a moment where somebody suggested, let's watch the Daniel Day-Lewis movie. Let's go see, it's like, I think that's it. I think it's the heaviness.
Probably my favorite actor of all time.
It's the heaviness of those movies. Like
but
I've never seen
Tommy Boy.
He doesn't what?
There's no Tommy Boy. There's nothing light.
Yeah, and right. That may be part of the reason I've never seen a Daniel Day-Lewis. It's like, and again, it's not. I'm not staying away from them because I think they're bad movies. I'm sure they're all excellent movies. It's like Schindler's List for me. I'm certain it's a great movie. I've just never been in the mood. I've never seen the movie.
I watched There Will Be Blood this past weekend.
Okay.
It's still an exceptional. You know what it is? It's a film.
I'm going to write that one down. There Will Be Blood. I'm going to write down. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to write down There Will Be Blood and Gangs of New York.
Gangs of New York is more fun. There Will Be Blood is the better movie.
Okay. I will do my best to see one of those two movies, whichever one I can see for free. I will see one of those two movies by next Tuesday. How about that? By next Tuesday, I'm going to see a Daniel Day-Lewis movie.
The cool thing is both performances by Daniel Day-Lewis will tell you everything that you need to know about Daniel Day-Lewis.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. We will get that done. And yes,
you know what? Watch Gangs of New York. It's a personal favorite.
Okay.
I really want your thoughts on Bill the Butcher.
Gangs of New York. Excellent. By the way, Catch, speaking of movies, in the list of movies I'm kind of proud that I introduced my child to, my child sat down with us and we watched The Usual Suspects and she loved it. It was great.
Really? Good for her.
Yeah. Not that I didn't think she would dislike it. I think it's impossible for a reasonable human to dislike The Usual Suspects, but we got to the end. She had not had anything spoiled. She had not, she got through it and she dug it. So
there's a lot of people in the chat saying that you should start with Last of the Mohicans. It's a great movie.
Isn't it? But isn't it like 3.5 hours long?
I don't think it's that long.
Okay. That's the one. The reason I stayed away from Mohicans was length. And it just felt like, oh God, that's going to be a long ass movie. And again, I'm sure it's great.
It's great. But look, Gangs of New York is fun.
All right. You know what? On your recommendation, I will start with that one, and then we'll work our way towards in fact, I'll write Last of the Mohicans as the third one, and I will consider that one, but I'll go Gangs of New York first, then I will do There Will Be Blood, and then I'll consider the Mohicans.
I gotta be honest, Phantom Thread might be my third favorite film, but I don't think you would like Phantom Thread at all.
Okay. All right.
Like I'm not telling you to watch Phantom Thread.
Not doing it. Okay.
If you get into Daniel Day-Lewis, you'll love Phantom Thread. But I need to walk before we run.
Yeah, fair enough.
By
That
the way, Last of Mohicans is 112 minutes. It comes in under 2 hours.
okay. Excellent. All right. Now I'm much more apt to get there. I think maybe I'm mixing it up with another movie. This is good. Throughout the years, both in radio and now with this show, I'm adding stuff to my list. Thanks to our guy Wes at Orange Bloods. I've started watching Band of Brothers. Still haven't finished Wes. Don't be mad at me, but I got to get through that. I'm willing to open my mind to all this stuff I haven't seen. We'll just end every once in a while. We'll just end a show with what have I not seen, and y'all will be amazed at what I have not seen. Trust me. It will blow you away. All right. Anything else, Catch? We good? You're good.
Yeah, we need to, if we don't end the show, we're just going to go all day because I'm this close to just starting to have a Daniel Day-Lewis marathon discussion.
I see. There you
and
go.
you've literally not seen one. So
Yeah,
it's time.
It is Mike's fault. Mike started it. But Mike, thank you, because you throwing in the super chat will ultimately, hopefully, lead me to watching some of these movies.
But know this about like the movies that we're recommending. Last of the Mohicans is a Michael Mann movie.
Okay.
Gangs of New York is a Scorsese movie. And, There Will Be Blood is one of the signature movies of the 21st century. And that's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
Yeah. By the way,
he only works with the elite of the elite directors. You're getting a great movie every time you step in.
Yeah, they do have TVs in Waxahachie Banks. I appreciate the question. And just to give myself a little credit, Michael, Chad, have you watched The Wire? Yes, I have watched The Wire because of Catch, because of that guy.
I turned him on to The Wire way back.
Yep, Catch turned me on to The Wire. I have seen The Wire all the way through. So there you go. Yeah, and some people say, why haven't you? At some point, you got to check the movies off the list. I do. Trust me. Someday, if we go over the list of movies I hadn't seen, but then now I have, I'm adding them. But, there's a lot of sports to watch, too. There's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of things going on. I can't watch them all. All right. Thank you for liking and subscribing and getting your notifications and trying to help me see good movies. Thanks to over 900 of you in that Specs chat. Remember, the whiskey sale runs through October 5th at Specs. Football with Friends tonight at 6. Tomorrow at 9, it's the old fashioned. And tomorrow at 10, the recruiting hour with myself and Jason Sukamel and his broken hand. We will see if he will tell us the story of how he broke his hand and how embarrassed he is. Plus, the latest in recruiting. Check out Jason's 321 article as well. It is there for you at orangebloods.com. Also on Orange Bloods, go to the forums and the 40 Acres forum. What's it Catch? Beyond the 40 Acres? What's it called? Inside the 40 Acres. Thank you. Go to that and you'll find the playoff projection from Travis. We'll get into that maybe a little bit tomorrow. Interesting stuff, and a 12 seed that you probably won't see coming at first, but once you think it through, you'll understand why
you might
Travis
not even see it a second.
You might get it that once you think it through, I get why Travis went with that for 12. So check that out at orangebloods.com as well. Y'all have yourself a great Tuesday. Until tomorrow, where we find out what other movies I haven't seen. We are house divided. John Bianco, make some time on your schedule to come on this show or somewhere on Orange Bloods Live